and Wilbur class. Today I'm going to read you The Snail and the Whale, and it's written by Julia Donaldson and it's illustrated by Axel Scheffler. Just want you to have a quick look at the front cover. Have a look at what you can see. I can see a huge whale, it's a really big whale, and right on the tip of the whale's tail, all of those words rhyme, don't they? The whale's tail is a tiny snail. Can you see? Right on the edge of the tail is the snail. What else can you see in the picture? I can see a crab. I can see some fish. How many fish can you see? I can see a parrot and I can see a toucan. There's the toucan up in the palm tree. Can you see? And they look like they're swimming towards a beautiful beach. I think I'd like to be on that beach today. That looks like a beautiful place to be. Let's have a look for the blurb. The blurb is where? Shout it out. On the back. Let's read the blurb. If I was in a bookshop, I was in the library, I would be using the blurb to think about the story, look at what the story is about and decide whether or not I want to take this book home with me. And it says, the sea snail slithered all over the rock and gazed at the sea and the ships in the dock. And as she gazed, she sniffed and sighed. The sea is deep and the world is wide. How I long to sail, said the tiny snail. And there she is. She's one of those snails on the rock. Oh, or she might be this little one right down here at the bottom that's off to see something new. Okay. Let's start the story. There's our title page. This is the tale of a tiny snail and a great big grey-blue humpback whale. And this is the rock as black as soot, and this is the snail with the itchy foot. The sea snail slithered all over the rock and gazed at the sea and the ships in the dock. And as she gazed, she sniffed and sighed. The sea is deep and the world is wide. How I long to sail, said the tiny snail. And look, there's all the ships in the dock. And there's a rock and there's the snail. What else can you see there? There's lots of seagulls. What's this? What's this red and white building called? That's right, it's a lighthouse. And lighthouses are there to stop the ships coming too close to shore when it's foggy. These are the other snails in the flock, who all stuck tight to the smooth black rock, and said to the snail with the itchy foot, "Be quiet, don't wriggle, sit still, stay put." But the tiny sea snail sighed and sniffed, and then cried, "Oh, I've got it, I'll hitch a lift." This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail that looped and curled and said, "Lift wanted around the world." And this is the whale who came one night when the tide was high and the stars were bright. A humpback whale, immensely long, who sang to the snail a wonderful song of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves. And this is the tale of the humpback whale. He held it out of the starlit sea and said to the snail, "Come sail with me." And there she is climbing on to the whale's tail. Bit of a mouthful, this story, with all the A rhyming words. This is the sea, so wild and free, that carried the whale and the snail on its tail. Now, to towering icebergs and far off lands. It's very cold there, doesn't it? Look at those creatures swimming in the sea. What are they? They're seals. Look, these are my favourite. These are penguins. I do love a penguin. With fiery mountains and golden sands. They've gone from somewhere very cold to somewhere that looks very, very hot. There's fish that fly. There's a turtle and a monkey. And what's that in the background? That great big mountain. What's that fire coming out of? What's that called? Do you know? It's a volcano. Oh, there's some dolphins as well. Now still on the whale's tail is the snail. These are the waves that arched and crashed, that foamed and frolicked and sprayed and splashed, the tiny snail on the tail of the whale. And these are the caves beneath the waves, where stripy fish with feathery fins and sharks with hideous toothy grins swam round the whale and the snail on his tail. Just have a look at all those fish that are hiding. Probably want to try to escape those sharks. What's that green creature at the top there? He's got lots and lots of legs. That's an octopus. This is the sky, so vast and high, sometimes sunny and blue and warm, sometimes filled with a thunderstorm, with zigzag lightning, flashing and frightening, the tiny snail on the tail of the whale. She's still hanging on, even though the sea's looking very rough. And she gazed at the sky and the sea and the land, the waves and the caves and the golden sand. And she said to the whale, "I feel so small." But then came the day the whale lost his way. These are the speedboats running a race, zigging and zooming all over the place, upsetting the whale with their ear-splitting roar, making him swim too close to the shore. This is the tide slipping away. What's happening to the whale? And this is the whale lying beached in the bay. "Quick, off the sand, back to sea," cried the snail. "I can't move on land, I'm too big," moaned the whale. The snail felt helpless and terribly small. Then, "I've got it," she cried, and she started to crawl. "I must not fail," said the tiny snail. And there she goes, she's off. She's got a plan. This is the bell on the school in the bay, ringing the children in from their play. This is the teacher holding her chalk, telling the class, "Sit straight, don't talk." This is the board as black as soot. And this is the snail with the itchy foot. "A snail, a snail!" The teacher turns pale. "Look," say the children, "it's leaving a trail." This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail saying, "Save the whale." These are the children running from school, fetching the fireman, digging a pool, squirting and spraying to keep the whale cool. Look at all those people that have come to help. This is the tide coming into the bay. And these are the villagers shouting, "Hooray!" as the whale and the snail travel safely away. Now off back in the sea again. Back to the dock and the flock on the rock, who said, "How time's flown, and haven't you grown?" And the whale and the snail told their wonderful tale of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves, and of how the snail, so small and frail, with her looping, curling, silvery trail, saved the life of the humpback whale. Then the humpback whale held out his tail, and on crawled snail after snail after snail. They all want to go for a ride now. There they go. And they sang to the sea as they all set sail on the tail of the grey-blue humpback whale. They're off on another adventure. That's the end.